Peace to the gods, peace to the earth. This your man, the King of Truth. King Truth is Allah. I'm bringing you this short documentary today on my Uncle Mal, the Honorable El Haj Malik El Shabazz, better known as Malcolm X, also known as Malcolm X. I know it's Dr. King's holiday on the 20th, but it was so I was getting some feedback in the streets. Now I got on a shirt and tie. Y'all probably ain't used to seeing me like this, but motherfuckers say put on some clothes. So peace. I ain't been to church. Trust me. If I'm going to church, I'm going, preaching my own sermon about knowledge of self and 120 and supreme understanding, supreme mathematics, supreme alphabet. So ain't nothing changed. Don't let the formal attire fool you. Peace. So I just wanted to the documentary is Malcolm X versus Farrakhan. People I guess they've been checking me out and they see I refer to Farrakhan as Fakakhan. And there is a air of concern of me, which seemed like if you don't know the whole story of me trying to start a beef with the Nation of Islam. Well, I don't necessarily want a beef with Farrakhan or his family, his sons or daughters, son-in-laws. I don't want no problem. But the problem with the Nation of Islam is people are often afraid to speak out against them or be in disagreement with them. Based on the reputation of how they handle problems with black people in particular. Like you don't hear them shooting at, threatening white people, Caucasian people, Jewish people, Arab people. You don't hear them, trying to go to war or do physical violence in any other ethnic group but black people. To me that's kind of bullyish, right? But my issue with Farrakhan is how he, how he explains Malcolm X departure and assassination. That is very disrespectful. Farrakhan today, if he still feels that way like he felt in 1993, he, has, and I said this before, he has like needy, dependent issues. Like, he was and so I'll get into that. But it's very disrespectful and dishonest of the things he have been saying about Malcolm X. I'm gonna strive to clear up some things. I'm gonna try to clear up some things. And so, if it goes, I'm gonna be, it's gonna be video with Farrakhan and Malcolm X going back and forth and things of that nature. Farrakhan says in 1993, 28 years after the assassination of Malcolm X, you can check the full video out. It's called the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his student Malcolm X 28 years later. And it's on YouTube. It's free. It was done February 28th, 1993. That's 28 years after the death of Malcolm. And so Farrakhan says, Malcolm went out of the nation. Malcolm went out of the nation. Well, that's not necessarily true. Malcolm was put out. Malcolm was suspended without pay. And the suspension, according to rumor and hearsay, was indefinitely means there was no definite timetable of when Malcolm was going to take his role as minister or national spokesman. So, he was suspended indefinitely without pay, right? And so Malcolm decided to go his own way after being suspended for 90 days. Now, Malcolm made it 90 days. The Nation of Islam in the documentary make it plain, issues a statement saying, following up Malcolm's press release, following his statement saying he is no longer in the NOI, verified that by saying Malcolm after 90 days suspension has decided to go his own way. So it was understood Malcolm had left the nation. They didn't own Malcolm. Obviously there was no contract. If there was a contract, he should have been given severance pay, should have been given the house, So there was no severance pay, there was no contract, there was no ownership to Malcolm. And Farrakhan would make you believe, that they own Malcolm. And, Malcolm was trying to do away with the whole idea, concept, and psychological effects of slavery. See what I'm saying? So Malcolm didn't just go out of the nation. He was suspended and without pay. And so, you trying to break a man that then, taught civilization and grew the nation to 40,000 people. That's an insult. So, they wanted Malcolm to, really, be broken and a puppet for Elijah. And he was not a puppet for Elijah, right? And then so Farrakhan say, I love Malcolm. There was no one greater except Elijah Muhammad, right? There was no one great. This is what Farrakhan says, talking about Malcolm and Elijah. But then he gets mad and say, Malcolm went to Mike Wallace to air out the minister. No, he and so Farrakhan thought that was wrong, and so he stressed and harped on Malcolm going to Mike Wallace to explain his departure, right, from the Nation of Islam, right? And so, but what Farrakhan fails to mention is that Mike Wallace was kind of an ally to Malcolm X and the Nation of Islam. Like, he produced a show in 1959 called The Hate That Hate Produced. He produced a show in 1959 called The Hate That Hate Produced, right? And then, so when Malcolm left, he, and so in June 1964, June 8, 1964, he done the interview with Mike Wallace talking about, why he split, right? So Farrakhan don't explain, Mike Wallace was like a conduit for the Nation of Islam to the rest of the world, society, the public, whatever. So there was nothing wrong with Malcolm going to talk to Mike Wallace, right? Nothing at all. Then he says, Farrakhan gives credit to, sole credit to Elijah for raising Malcolm from jail. Well, that's not true. Malcolm read the whole jail library. It is speculated he may have gotten a GED in jail. He grew and developed into manhood in jail. His brother and sister, like both his brothers, or two of his brothers and one of his sisters, was in the Nation of Islam. So they was telling him about Elijah and the good that the nation was doing for black people, right? And so Malcolm was raised by a loving mother and father that were Garveyites that taught Malcolm right from wrong. Farrakhan, say, tried to take that from his family, right? He was a good student. He wanted to be a lawyer, right? And so, Malcolm, in one of those books, was referred to the seventh son of Elijah, right? I didn't look up Elijah family, but it's some big research because he died with like 23 children. But Farrakhan comes off as jealous, and you're gonna see pictures and things to back up what I'm saying. And then and so if Malcolm was referred to Farrakhan, so if Malcolm was referred to Elijah as his seventh son, Farrakhan talks about a dream he had where he had an out of body experience, and he went to Elijah's house in Chicago, I think, and he said he was standing outside of his window, and he heard a man crying, saying, "Oh, my son, my son, my son." And then Farrakhan said, "Dear holy apostle, I will be your son." You see what I'm saying? I will be your son. So, it's like, he wanted to take the place of Malcolm and Wharf Dean. You see what I'm saying? And that's just a dude that's just not right. That's some psychological codependent behavior that you want to fill a void or fill some person's shoes after you help to get him killed, you see. And so so I share the December 4th, 1964 newspaper, Muhammad Speaks. And so you have to do the research. If I was in a lecture hall, I would put on a projector screen and show you all these things. But it's in the documentary. You look it up. December 4th, 1964, Muhammad Speaks. Farrakhan, which was known by Louis X at the time, he was Louis X. He didn't have a name. He was Louis X of Boston. And he wrote a 4 or 5 page article, and the name of the article is it says Boston minister tells of Muhammad's biggest mistake, right? Or Farrakhan was calling Malcolm the biggest hypocrite. For whatever reason, he was suspended without pay indefinitely. Then they started eviction process. So, if he was having any doubt, can he chill? And then he didn't write letters to come back. He had wrote the letters during the 90 days. So if letters were sent saying apologizing, then that was during the 90 days. When he was gone, he was gone. He wasn't coming back, you see. So And so y'all can check my video I got on here on YouTube, Malcolm X or MLX versus JFK and the NOI, and an explanation of the chickens coming home to roost. And at the 35, 40-minute mark, that's when I go into defending Malcolm some more, right? Then Farrakhan says, Gene Roberts was an agent. He was he was in New York undercover, the Bureau of Special Service Investigation, bossy or some shit, right? He was a New York undercover agent, and he shot Talmadge Hare. He shot the dude that wound up telling on William Bradley and McKinney and telling the police that Norman Butler and the other dude was not involved in it. So, for Farrakhan to put that out there, he does that. He tried to make you think Gene Roberts had something to do with Malcolm, and Gene Roberts testified, said he told his superiors that that he saw, maybe he just saw a dry run, people casing the Autobahn. They, the shooters cased the Autobahn the previous day, and he took note of that and told his superiors. They said, "Don't worry about it." And the next day, Malcolm wound up getting assassinated. His security, his main security, was taken out the picture by some other bossy dude, and that's the same dude that got Fred Hampton killed, they say, right? So there's a pattern there. This is COINTELPRO, So, man. Then at the Autobahn, Farrakhan said he was saying some things, but one of his homeboys was there in attendance, Cartwright. There's a picture, I can't find it, of Farrakhan in his FOI suit sitting next to the man that was from Paterson, New Jersey temple, was in attendance at Malcolm's assassination. So if him and Farrakhan was cool like this picture suggests, then Farrakhan knew as soon as it happened or right after it happened. You see? So he being evasive, deceptive, and dishonest. And that's why I call him Farrakhan. You see what I'm saying? He don't respect the man Malcolm was. I mean, he helped establish the nation so much so that it is in existence today because of the misconception that's created by Nation of Islam. You see, so he took that opportunity to call Auntie Betty Shabazz vindictive because she named him and and some other dudes, and he thought that was just irresponsible of her. But if we go back to Malcolm on Mike Wallace in June 8th, I think there's some March 64 or February March 64 interviews when he first split, I think. Then I think he's at a June 8th, and then, but if you go from there and then you go June, July, August, October, September, November, December, January, February. That's like 8 months. Let me see, that's That's like 8 months. And then Malcolm get assassinated in February of 1965. February 21st, he get assassinated. So, so December 4th, 1964. And so the June 8th video come before that. And then Farrakhan answers with this scathing news article that he writes. And so December 4th, it goes December, January, February. So 2 months after Farrakhan write this, Malcolm gets assassinated. And, then he got the nerve to speak ill of the dead. He's callous with Malcolm's family. You see. So it's not funny. It's not funny. So, he say, zealots and agents kill Malcolm. But I'm not sure, but I heard, so this is hearsay. This is speculation, this is assumption and rumor. But it is reported that Farrakhan met William Bradley, shook his hand, and gave him some kind of promotion within the nation. So he's saying in 1993, some men he never met were zealots from Temple Number 25 in Newark, New Jersey, took it upon themselves to kill Malcolm. But his scathing, Farrakhan's character image assassination in that paper that he wrote could have been the inspiration to spark the catalyst which made him see fit to go kill my, and two of the men were never ever brought to justice. You see, only one, Talmadge Hare. And once again, Gene Roberts shot him in the back of the leg, and they caught him, and they was and the people in the tenants of the Autobahn, the Malcolmites, caught him and started beating on him. You see what I'm saying? And so he got out of it. So he was out of jail, and I'm like, how you get out of jail for premeditated murder? But I guess they let him out. So I guess they let him out for cooperating, telling on who was really responsible. So I don't know what's the holdup about. You see, the government been know who shot Malcolm, just like they know who shot Biggie, and that was the FOI, right? But that's another story. So yeah, so y'all finish watching this documentary. Peace.